Welcome to our big race betting preview for British Champions Day, brought to you by Betsafe. Will Magical repeat last year's triumph in the Champions Stakes, crowning a brilliant campaign? Or does new kid Mishrif represent the value there after a couple of great displays in France for John Gosden? Talking of Johnny G, Stradivarius, is he a banker to kick off the card in race number one? Or can we, should we, take him on? We'll come on to the QE2, where Palace Pier is another red-hot favourite. Got some of the best form in Europe this year, but does he offer any kind of value? The Revenant takes him on after an identical prep to last year with success in France on Arc Day. And we'll also tackle that tricky Balmoral handicap that closes a brilliant card. Who are the bankers? Who are the blowouts? Where are the big price gems? We'll unearth them all for you in our big race betting preview with Betsafe. So lots to look at, and let's introduce our expert panellists from attheraces.com. Joining us once again. First of all, Declan Ricks. Welcome back, Declan. You nearly had to eat your chapeau, of course, when Persian King came swinging into the straight in the Arc. More strong views, I hope?
Yes, yes. Was a little bit worried when Pierre Charles Boudot got that easy lead, but he ran a cracker. But yes, hopefully more strong views. That's what you're here for. That's what you're here for. Simon Rowlands joins us once again as well. Welcome back, Simon. Good to have you on board. Sotsas, you love Sotsas in all of our big race betting previews until going a little bit lukewarm at the last minute.
That is true. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, I've been a Sotsas fan for quite a while, but I gave up on him one race too early. I'm going
to give him to you. I'm going to credit you with Sotsas because you were with him for most of the campaign. I'm also going to credit myself with Mogul, who would have, as we now know, have won the Arc had he been allowed to run in the race. We've got lots to get through, so without further ado, let's kick on with race number one on British Champions Day, which is, of course, the long distance Cup, and market-wise it's dominated by Stradivarius, as you'd expect. He's odds on. Don't forget, of course, prices are subject to change. We're recording a little bit before the day of the event. Search for a song in there. Next in Fugera Prince, then Spanish Mission, Mirando, Dawn Patrol. That's kind of the order that you're looking at there. Let's start, Simon, with you and with Stradivarius. You were rightly against him with the middle distance experiment for reasons that you explained. He's back now to what we know he does best. Is he clear of his rivals on figures or not so much? What's the story?
I'd say he's slightly ahead of his rivals on figures, but not really clear. I've always emphasised that I think the staying division that he's dominated for so long has been a bit weak, really. And when he's up against middle distance horses, that as much as the distance itself has been an issue, really. And I expected him, all told, to run a bit better than he did in the Arc. I opposed him in this last year with Kew Gardens, so I think that race showed that he can be beaten even under these conditions. And I wouldn't be siding with him at odds on, I must admit.
Okay, well, Stradivarius, who is considered a red-hot favourite, Declan, but Simon says he can be beaten. We've seen that here at Ascot before. And, of course, it's not been an orthodox preparation this year for Stradivarius. Does that put you off or not?
Yeah, look, it's the price would probably put you off, I suppose. When we're doing this, we are asked for selections, and bets aren't necessarily the same thing. But look, the preparation hasn't been ideal, but we know this is one of the toughest horses in training. So the prep is not too much of a worry for me. A bigger worry, I think, probably would be last year when he was beaten in the race when he ran so well. That was on the hurdles track, if you remember. This year, I think they're going to be running on the normal round track, which is going to be a hell of a lot softer. And in my opinion, while he has won on soft ground, Stradivarius, he is far better under quicker conditions. He does everything easily. But I would slightly disagree with Simon in terms of ratings. I think in terms of ratings, at his very best, at all horses in this field, at their very best, I think he's got quite a bit to play with. But whether the ground is going to be a bit of an equaliser, that's another matter.
Okay, well, let's test your argument, Declan, because I'm going to make a case for an alternative, Search for a Song. And I think you can make a form case for her, and certainly on a line through Kew Gardens. She beat Kew Gardens in last year's Irish Ledger. She seemed to sort of lose her way a little bit. She actually pulled up on one occasion this season, having stumbled early on in the race. But last time out, she was back to what she does best, back over a staying trip, winning the Irish Ledger again, Simon. I don't think she's got anything to find at all, potentially, with Stradivarius, this filly, and there could still be more to come from her.
Yeah, I'm actually picking up on what Declan just said. I've got Stradivarius £5 clear, which is equivalent to probably 3 or 4 lengths. So I suppose it comes down to your definition of how much that makes in hand. I agree, Search for a Song at her best, and she's been back to her best of late, is a definite player here. She's quite a quirky individual, has been hooded for recent runs, and I think that needs to be factored into things. But things are going well for her at the moment, and she should turn up and run a race. Yeah.
I think she should. Have we got any other alternatives? Fujairah Prince, the E-Ball winner, Declan. Of course, he was behind the filly last time, but is he a player potentially?
Yeah, he is. Look, I think give every horse in the race respect. He's been in good form this year for Roger Varian and Andrea Azzini. He ran very well in the Irish Ledger. In parts of that race, he was quite wide during the race. Probably didn't help. While your selection, Search for a Song, got a very good ride from Oisin Orr and cut paint the whole way through. I just have a little worry about him, Sean, over the trip in the ground. I thought he was fundamentally outstayed of what wasn't a searching gallop in the Irish Ledger, and now he's going up 2 furlongs and he's going to be running on softer ground. So whether he wants this war of attrition is debatable at this level.
Just seeing Fujairah Prince winning that staying handicap there at Royal Ascot, the new race at Ascot this year. So he's a player. We've got the Doncaster Cup winner, of course, Spanish Mission, who we haven't even mentioned, Group 2 winner as well. But let's go with the Stradivarius question, which is a key question. You can be with or against him, and then give us a selection as well. With or against, Declan?
I'd be with him.
OK, 1 vote for Stradivarius. And for you, Simon?
I'm against him at the odds. And I like the claims of Mirando, who's a mudlark who's yet to try beyond 13.5 furlongs this trip of 2 miles. Everything he does suggests that it should suit him, and I think he's ready to step up and possibly close the gap. But it probably does require that Stradivarius doesn't quite run to his very best.
Yeah, and as you say, he's got some pounds to play with. It's a bit like opinion polls, isn't it? There's a margin of error on these things. There's always a margin of error for ratings in horses because not every horse produces an optimum run every single time. Mirando, Simon's done some interesting work on stride pattern analysis, I know, for Mirando, which is encouraging in terms of the trip. My selection, as we saw there, is Dermot Weld's filly, Search for a Song. Don't forget, of course, you can have your say as well if you're watching this on YouTube. Make a comment, and don't forget to hit subscribe as well. You've heard from the experts. Give us your views as well. But that was race 1 on this Betsafe preview of British Champions Day. Turn our attention to the British Champions Sprint, QIPCO British Champions Sprint on British Champions Day. And of course, it's a market that's been dominated for some days, weeks probably in fact, by Dream of Dreams, who's having a brilliant campaign. One Master Foray winner there on 4-1. Oxted, who's had a light campaign but a wonderful one. Next in Starman, I suppose the new kid, the pretender on the block in this division. I'm going to come to you first though, Simon, because we've done a few of these big race betting previews with Betsafe in recent weeks. One Master's been mentioned lots of times, particularly by you. You've been waiting to see him. Looks like we will see him on Saturday. I'm assuming you're going to be with him.
One Master.
I'm sorry, what did I say? Dream of Dreams. Dream of Dreams. I meant to say.
Is that a Freudian slip?
Yeah, it could be.
That's up in itself. Yeah. I think Dream of Dreams has got an absolutely outstanding chance in this. To a degree, that's reflected in the odds, of course. But the horse that we've seen this year, he had a much better preparation this year. His win in the Hungerford Stakes in Newbury was really one of the time performances of the season so far. He got the job done at Haydock, not wonderfully impressively, but well enough. And I just think he is a fresher horse than the horse who got beaten in this a couple of times in the past, and a better horse as well. And really, if he turns up and does the business, then I don't think anything else will lay a glove on him.
Well, that's bullish talk, that's fighting talk. And he's a price as well. He's not Stradivarius type territory of 8 to 13, 7 to 4 on. He'll be more like 13 to 8, 7 to 4 against.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's reasonable value, personally.
OK, so strong vote there for Dream of Dreams. Ran well at Ascot in the Diamond Jubilee, of course, Declan, Dream of Dreams. We might see that now. Of course, got one master in there and speaking colours in behind. But as Simon touched on, Declan, he's bombed out twice, 2 years running in this very race. So are you with or against Dream of Dreams?
I fully respect him. I think he deserves his short market position in the race. I would say, with regards to him bombing out in the race before, he was a full horse in those years. He's been gelded this season, and he's just been, what I've liked about him is he's held his form better. He's been much more consistent, and he deserves his place at the head of the market. So I think the gelding operation has really been the key to him, and obviously, as we've seen time and time again, he tends to run well here at Ascot, as well as the odd poor performance.
Yes, yeah, and the odd poor performances have come in this race, but how you quantify that is a tricky thing. Freudian slip, maybe One Master. One Master was my only winner, I think, over the Arc weekend, so maybe I am hanging on to her and to past glories. I'm less keen on her for this race, I have to say. She was very good, though, once again in the foray, and she did go second in this race last time as well, so she's got the Ascot form to boot. Do you feel that she's still a little bit behind Dream of Dreams, Simon? She's very good.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. This was a great win in the foray, but if you look at some of the horses on the heels of the first three, they're not really Group 1 standard. And in terms of sort of figures, I think this just confirms that One Master is, in good form, a smart performer, but it should really require a bit more than that against Dream of Dreams and maybe one or two of the others also.
One or two of the others, I think, has got to include Oxted, hasn't it? Just figures-wise, Simon, what has Oxted done? We'll come to the ground in a minute, but in terms of raw ability, what has Oxted shown us this year?
I think he's been, well, there's no denying that he's a much improved horse and a pretty good one. And his win in the July Cup over Sceptical was a new personal best for him. Great credit on connections. But that doesn't measure up as being as good, in my book anyway, as Dream of Dreams at his best, or quite as good as may be required to win here in a normal year.
Yeah, and the ground, a big question mark, but they're willing to have a go on the softer ground with Oxted. I really like Oxted, I must say. But, Declan, what do you like? Where else can we look in this race? Because there's a bit of depth to it.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of depth to it. I suppose that the main fancy, just in terms of prices, because his former revolves around the favourite, would be Glen Shield. He's only got just over a length to find on the Haydock sprint form. And this season, he's been a revelation. Archie Watson has done really well with him. Hayley Turner, Holly Doyle, our Sky Sports Racing ambassador, is obviously looking for her elusive first Group 1. And, I wouldn't be surprised if this horse gave her that. He ran very well in the Balmoral Handicapped last year on very heavy ground. He shaped far better than the distance beaten. And I think just since he's been dropped back to sprinting, he's been a revelation. So I can't quite get why he's about 10 to 1 and the favourite 6 to 4. He's only got just over a length to find.
Yeah, no, the Holly Doyle story isn't finished this season, that's for sure. She broke her record, of course, just the other day, her own record for winners in a calendar year. Wouldn't be surprised to see her hit. She's got a few chances actually on Saturday. We might come to another one in due course. So Glen Shield worth noting there for Declan. What about you, Simon? Any lurkers in there that you've spotted, perhaps being underestimated by the market?
Not really for me. Obviously, I think we need to give a good mention to Starman, whose form against Dakota Gold last time has been upheld by Dakota Gold since. He's done tremendously well, Starman, in just a handful of runs, and should be a big contender for next year as well. I just wonder whether this will be a step a little bit too far and a little bit too soon, but I certainly don't blame them for having a go. He's a really promising and talented horse.
Yeah, he is indeed. He seems stretching away here. This was at Doncaster, of course. He went on to follow up, as Simon said, at York last time as well. Only 3 starts, Starman, but he's going great guns, and file him under the could be anything at this stage, but it is a big step up. And Nassis is another one who's quite interesting. Hayley Turner chatted to Matt Chapman on Sky Sports Racing about her chances the other day, felt the race might suit her, although technically she'd probably have a fair bit to find as well. Let's confirm selections then for the QIPCO British Champions Sprint Stakes. Simon Rowlands, absolutely no doubt, dream of dreams, been with Dream of Dreams in all of our big race betting previews, and now he finally gets to see him on the racetrack and run. Glenn Shiel for Declan. Happy Power in there as well. I don't think we touched on that. Very quickly, in a nutshell, Declan.
Yes, he was 4th in the Sussex last year, 6th in the QE2. He's struggled to put it all together, but I thought last time at Newmarket in the Challenge Stakes, he finally hit the lids well, he got into stride well, and I just think visually it looks like it's all coming together with this horse. And like Glen Shiel, his conditioning over 7 and 8 furlongs might come into play.
Okay.
On ground that's very soft.
Yep, might indeed. James Doyle looks to be set to ride Happy Power. I think I'm a big fan of Oxted, actually. The ground is a big question mark for Oxted, but I really like his performances this year. What's your view? Let us know in the comments under the video if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe as well. Stay up to date with everything from Sky Sports Racing and from At The Races. You get all the form on attheraces.com as well. Loads of good content on the website in the build-up to British Champions Day. Should be a cracking QIPCO British Champions Sprint Stakes to look forward to. Race number 3 on British Champions Day is the Fillies and Mares Stakes. Very open look to the market. Do bear in mind, of course, Magical still quoted at the time that we're recording this. If, as expected, she's not in the market by the time you're viewing this. And, of course, some of these prices may shorten, but you won't be facing a Rule 4. Wonderful tonight. We can talk about it in a moment. We'll start with Dame Mallio. Though, and Dame Mallio ran in the Vermeil on Arc Trials Day, and she ran well, Declan. She ran 3rd behind Tanawa, who was a brilliant winner that day. Wonderful Tonight was in the race just behind her as well, and I think you're a Dame Mallio fan?
Yes, big fan of Dame Mallio, Sean. I'm a big fan of this Vermeil in general, to be honest. I think this form is very good with Tanawa and Rabia. Giving it a very solid look over Arc Weekend. She did get the run of the race this day, but when horses get the run of the race, I like to see them make it count. And while the other 2 fillies are probably in a league of their own compared to her, with regard to the favourite Wonderful Tonight, she did make it count. She's going to come here fresher than Wonderful Tonight, having skipped Arc Weekend. And as you can see there in the VT, she's a big, powerful daughter of Champs-Élysées, whose progeny tend to get better with time. She's had a pretty light season, and you know, if there's going to be a story horse of British Champions Day this year, it's probably going to be this one with Ed Vaughan, who's going to retire at the end of the year, and then Holly Doyle, who's obviously Sky Sports Racing ambassador, looking for her first Group 1. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Dame Mallio in terms of story, but more importantly in terms of form.
Yep, I like Dame Mallio for similar reasons. Wonderful Tonight was just behind her there, and of course followed up Wonderful Tonight with a brilliant success in the Royal Year on Arc Day as well. David Menuzier very punchy about his filly. Said we might have gone for the Arc with her, and maybe we'll go next year. And this was a smart performance from Wonderful Tonight, Simon. Declan may have a point though that she's been pretty busy, hasn't she, in the last month?
Yeah, she has been, and she's got better with each race, really. But this was a mile and 3/4. She showed loads of stamina. I thought the runner-up was going to grab her in the closing stages, but she pulled out more. I'm not convinced that Wonderful Tonight will be able to reverse the form with Dame Mallio from the Vermeil. The Vermeil was a rather messy race, and Dame Mallio did get the run of things up front, but overall, I think Dame Mallio's a slightly better filly than Wonderful Tonight. But there's really very little, as is reflected in the betting, very little between several of them in this. And I think there's plenty of horses for contenders.
Any others in there? John Gosden could have a fantastic day, but Frankly Darling, and particularly Medallion, who seems to have totally lost her way, Declan, seem to be somewhat overlooked in here. But anything else caught your eye?
I don't think so, Sean. I'm pretty keen on Dame Mallio. Medallion is probably, in terms of ability, the best horse in this race, but we've seen quite little of her, and maybe she's better over 10 as well. the other Gosden horse. I've never got the buzz with her all season. She's been quite disappointing. So yeah, I'm pretty keen on Dan Mallio on this. So I'm not going to mention too many others to potentially cloud the picture.
Okay, he's a one-horse kind of guy, Declan. I like that kind of loyalty. Simon, what about Medea? I mean, Declan makes a valid point. Probably on her best figures, she could be the pick. It's going to be horrible if she goes and wins, and we haven't backed her.
Yeah, I echo everything that Declan said there. I think Medea is ideally a 10 furlong performer. She's had only one run this season. Even at her very best, she'd only just about be top or joint top in this for me. So I think there's quite a few negatives there. And she hasn't really entered my calculations all that strongly. But I also agree on Frankly Darling from the same stable. Well, I wouldn't say she was disappointing. I'm sure they're pretty happy with what she's managed to win and run well in. But essentially, the Oaks in which she was placed behind Love wasn't a particularly strong contest, and I don't think Frankly Darling's quite up to winning a race like this.
Race number 4 on the card, and one of the undoubted highlights of British Champions Day, the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes, of course. Let's look forward to that now and have a look at the market, which confirms what we already knew, really, that Palace Pier is likely to be an absolutely red-hot favourite for this, dominating the market, generally well and truly odds on. The Revenant, who was successful in France over the art weekend, is next in. Then a bit of a gap to the others, which includes good horses, Nazif, Circus Maximus, Ben Battle, Terrabellum, amongst those quoted just in behind the market principles. Let's start, though, with Palace Pier. We've often said in these big race previews, Simon, that Palace Pier's form is some of the best form in Europe this year. It's all stacking up from both Ascot and from France. Is that correct? Is that a real thing, or is that a bit of hype?
I think it's correct. I'm not absolutely certain it's correct, which I think is the point where a horse is long odds on as he is. But his defeat of Pinatubo and Wichita at Royal Ascot in the St James's Palace Stakes was, he showed an exceptional turn of foot in that. One of the fastest closing sectionals at Ascot in recent years, let alone actually in this year. He took quite a while to hit top stride in France last time against Alpine Star. And he did get the job done eventually. But one of the things is, I think he looked a little bit more subject to the run of the race in that race. And he needed what was a really strong pace in France in order to get on top towards the end. I'm not here to knock the horse at all. I think he's a fantastic horse. But at the odds, I think it's worth at least considering taking him on.
OK, we'll come back to you, Simon, with what we might take him on with. But on that point, Declan, Palace Pier is dominating the market. But I think the form just looks kind of gold-plated, personally, from where I'm seeing. But where do you stand on Palace Pier?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Sean. I think this horse, probably has the potential to be the next kind of superstar of European racing, to be honest, especially now that Enable is retired. He's had 3 runs this year. He's just got better and better with each run. And who's to say he won't get better again here in the QE2? You can see him here in the Prix-Jacques Le Marois. He's quite a strong horse in front. He's low to the ground. And I think those kind of horses do well in soft ground. I know what Simon is saying this day. I thought he maybe ran just a little bit inefficient winning this day, and he was eased down at the end. Frankie asked him to use himself quite early to go past the likes of Rowlands, but I thought the ability to sustain the run the whole way up the straight for the rest of the race was very good. And given Alpine Star £3 in a strong run race on very soft ground, it takes a fair bit of doing, because I think if Alpine Star was running here, Sean, she'd be pushing the Revenant for second favouritism. So he's by Kingman, he's trained by the right man, and he's going to be ridden by the right man as well. I just, I'm hoping we see something potentially special here. I just think this could be the next superstar horse of European racing.
Could be Palace Pier. Very, very exciting. But every horse has its price, Simon, which is always the bottom line. So at the price, we potentially might want to take him on. Where should we look?
The one I'm most interested in at a double figure price is Century Dream, who seems to have been around forever and probably has a reputation that he's not quite this standard, but he had a breathing operation after a disappointing campaign last year, and I think he's been absolutely a revelation this year. He won the Celebration Mile at Goodwood by 4.5 lengths 2 starts ago, and then he clearly went too fast when he ran in Ireland last time. That can be the issue, really, is that judging the front running tactics on a horse like this and getting the pace right is not that easy, and Ascot is one of the most difficult courses of all to get that right on. But he's a fair old tool when he's on song, and in this race 2 years ago he actually looked like he was going to win this until run down just in the final 100 yards by Roaring Lion. I think he's absolutely ideally suited by conditions. There's a chance he might be able to, if not nick the race, certainly get to set his own pace to his own requirements, and he could prove pretty difficult to run down late on. So at a big price, I think Century Dream from the massively informed Simon and Ed Crisford stable is a worthwhile contender.
I think you made a really good case at a price. The price was in my mind when I thought, well, maybe we do have to consider the Revenant, who's been given exactly a carbon copy of his preparation for this race last year. He was beaten in the race last year, but he ran a very good second, of course, in the QE2 last year. He's done the same thing as that this year in terms of his preparation. We hadn't seen him since the QE2 before running in the pre-Daniel Wildenstein at Paris Longchamp. I quite like this Declan. I know it's not pretty what he does, but I thought it was professional and looked the stepping stone to this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. He's a very likeable horse, this guy, Sean. He's a son of Debawi out of Hayes Lavery, and his pedigree suggests he's going to get better and better. He obviously ran very well in this race last year behind King of Change when he maybe just spotted the winner maybe a length or two too much. If people are worried about why we didn't see him until a couple of weeks ago, don't worry about that at all. His trainer said that's always been the plan this year, to keep him fresh and have a crack at this race. I agree with you. I think you were kind of just maybe suggesting there, Sean, that that win last time on Arc Weekend didn't blow you away, but I think that's a good thing, because we didn't want him to kind of show all his aces before he came to this race, meaning he had a hard race. So I think he's had a lovely prep. The trainer has been talking about him this week, saying he's come forward for the race. And in my opinion, he's going to be ridden by the best jockey in Europe at the moment in Pierre Charles Boudot. This man is just an absolute revelation. I think he's one of the best French jockeys we've seen in the last few years. He's just a guy with supreme confidence. He's a horseman as well as a jockey, and those kind of factors when it comes down to the nitty gritty in terms of looking for a couple of pounds here and there are big factors as well. So look, I don't want to be too negative on the Revenant. I just think he's just potentially going to be bumping into his superstar. That's it.
Yep. So a superstar Palace Pier for Declan. I'd give the Revenant a big chance for the reasons that Declan has outlined really well. Let's confirm the selections for you. Century Dream, nice selection at a nice price for Simon there at a big old price. Palace Pier for Declan, just too good, just too classy. I think the Revenant could turn out to be the value package in the race for the QE2 Stakes on British Champions Day at Ascot. Give us your view. Don't forget to hit subscribe. But that was the QE2 on BCD Day. Let's turn our attention to the Champions Stakes, QIPCO Champions Stakes on British Champions Day on Saturday, and it's on Magical versus Mishriff, Lord North next in, Skeletti and Adave and Piledrive, Japan, loads of other good horses in behind the principals, but we have to start with the Magical versus Mishriff head-to-head at the front, which is, I suppose, Declan, the established superstar that is Magical, who's had at least as good a campaign this year as ever, versus Mishriff, who's kind of the new kid. And where do you stand?
Yeah, I think Magical, I don't want to be too negative on her. She is an absolutely incredible filly. Her toughness and her constitution, as much as anything, is pretty mind-blowing, to run as hard as she did in the Juddmonte, and then come and maybe run even harder in the Irish Champion Stakes and beat a horse like Guyat, just goes to show you how tough this filly is. I'm a huge fan. I would say though, I've always, like we've seen before, she's gone in soft ground, but to my eye, this filly has always done everything that little bit better on quicker ground. So look, we're going to be running on the round course here. It's going to be very soft ground, and I'm just not sure that's her total bag. So I'm happy to take her on at the prices, and I'm definitely happy to take on Mishriff at the prices. So I'm going to stick my head above the parapet in this race. For me, Mishriff should be double the price he is.
Okay, so Mishriff, a false price. He was favourite. We'll have to wait and see who goes off favourite, Simon. Maybe Magic will go off favourite ahead of him. Maybe Mishriff will get a renewed head of steam. Where do you stand on Mishriff? Are you convinced by what we've seen in France from Mishriff?
Not entirely. I was a big fan of his going into the French Derby, and he overcame a bit of trouble in running in that race to quick and clear late on. But the French Derby form isn't outstanding, certainly not as good as required to win a race like Saturday's. He was really impressive next time at Deauville on ground similar to what he should be encountering at Ascot on Saturday. But he had only 3 rivals, one of whom was Victor Ladorum, who he was against here in the French Derby. Victor Ladorum finished 3rd. And for me, Victor Ladorum is better at a mile, and he ran out of stamina at Deauville. So I think Mishriff has done well to win a fairly ordinary French Derby and then look very good, but in slightly suspect circumstances at Deauville. He's going to have to be as good as Deauville, if not better, to win a race like Saturday. So he's not for me. I think he should be a rather bigger price than he is.
Well, that's good news for you if you like Magical, though, Simon, because, of course, he's going to make the price for you.
Yeah, I think Magical's still eminently backable at the kind of price she is for this. She's bomb-proof. She is perfectly suited by conditions. She won this last year. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we got the same 1-2 as 12 months ago, actually. Magical beating Adaib in this race 12 months ago. They're both horses coming to this in top form and well suited by conditions. And I don't think it's a stronger race than it was 12 months ago, personally.
Yeah, well, that was the battle last year. She was holding Adaib quite cosily, I thought, all the way to the line in this race last year. So we could see history repeat itself. We could turn our attention back to Ascot, though, for Lord North as well, Declan, who I think is on your radar.
Yeah, he's going to be my selection in the race, Sean. What he did at Royal Ascot in the Princess of Wales Stakes, I thought was pretty good. Look, it wasn't the best race in the world, fair enough, but you know, he didn't go and win by a half a length or a head or whatever. You know, he absolutely bolted up. As you can see there, he physically he's quite a strong horse as well. He's a little bit low to the ground as well, like Palace Pier. And I think those kind of horses, they really can power through this kind of ground. He's a hold-up horse, and what we didn't see in this VT is he gave this field a very big head start this day off what wasn't like a runaway gallop or anything. I think with Ballydoyle have got quite a few horses in the race, especially Serpentine, and I can see this race turning into a little bit of a war of attrition. And look, I think we should point out, you know, Japan or Serpentine winning this race is probably worth more to Coolmore than Magical because she's a filly. She was used as a pacemaker, I think, in the Arc last season for Japan. And I'm not saying that's going to happen here again now, but I wouldn't be surprised with Serpentine in the race if Magical was held up off the pace along with Japan, and they turned it into a war of attrition and, you know, may the best horse win kind of thing. So I just think this race is, given the ground, it's a lot more competitive than the market is suggesting with the ground.
Yeah, you made a good case for Lord North. I thought we might hear you make a case for Scaletti, though, Declan. You were very keen on Scaletti for our last big race preview. Did you proud? Absolutely dotted up in the pre-dollar last time.
Yeah, he did. I know it probably got a little bit hair-raising, but I thought he was so far and away the best horse in that race, beating Joseph O'Brien's horse, Patrick Sarsfield, who got a very good ride from Frankie. He nearly stole the race. And he thrives on this kind of ground. He did beat, we shouldn't forget, Sotsas earlier in the season, although Sotsas probably wasn't at his very best, and he was giving him, I think, £6 on the day. But that French horse, Lady, is another one to throw in the mix. He's going to thrive on this ground. Whether Magical does, I'm not 100% sure. Mishrif has gone on it before, but his form isn't as good. And we still haven't got the horses like Pile Driver in this race, Sean, who have decent chances as well, and Japan in his best form. I just think this race is a hell of a lot more deeper than the odds suggest.
Yeah, well, you've made a good case for Lord North, and we've had a good case there for Magical as well. Let's confirm selections for the guys for the QIPCO Champions Stakes. Magical for Simon Rowlands, Lord North for Declan Riggs. I am convinced by Mishrif. I am a believer in what we saw in the Prix de Jockey Club, which was a rough race in a big field, and then in a small field he just absolutely brushed them aside. I think he could be the real deal to cope with conditions. He's got the man on board and the right man training him, so that will do for me. There's a lot of big bankers on this card, potentially make or break horses. If you like one or two of them, well, this is what Betsafe will offer you in terms of enhanced odds for one or two of them. The Stradivarius and Palace Pier enhanced double. That'll be a real sort of make or break first race for a lot of backers, won't it? Stradivarius. If he goes in, and then you're looking for Palace Pier to follow up. They're both going to be very short prices, 5-2 for the double. And if you want to throw Magical into the mix, if you're with Simon that Magical is the one to beat in the Champion Stakes as well, then you have 9-1 the treble, which is Palace Pier, Magical and Stradivarius enhanced by Betsafe. Maximum stake terms and conditions apply, etc, etc. Give us your views as well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tell us what you think about British Champions Day. Welcome back to this special preview programme. It's a big race betting preview. We're looking at British Champions Day, and the card closes, of course, with the Balmoral Handicap. It's a very, very tough race indeed. Straight mile handicap at Ascot, really exciting races, and they suit some horses rather than others. Rake is a dominant favourite in an open market, clear favourite with all firms across the board, and has been. He's got a penalty to defy. Tempest in the Juddmonte colours next in. King Ottokar, Keats in there potentially for Aidan O'Brien as well. Let's start with King Ottokar, Simon, because I think you're a bit of a fan. I went to Charlie Fellowes' yard, and he said he's a bit of an enigma, this horse, I think. But the good news is that as a result, his handicap marker slipped down a bit. He could be well handicapped now.
Yes, I think so. They clearly thought an awful lot of this horse, and he did deliver to a degree. He beat Dashing Willoughby, no less, last year, and was third in the Hampton Court Stakes to Sangarius at Royal Ascot. But things have kind of gone a little bit wrong since then. But as you say, as a consequence, he's come down a handicap. He's a horse who's really well suited by soft ground, a strong gallop. He's normally held up. He didn't get either of those at Doncaster last time, but still really caught the eye, finishing fifth. He got checked in his run, approaching the final furlong, and was going on well at the end. And he's been dropped a couple of pounds since then. So he's been a bit of an enigma at times during his career, but I think everything lines up really nicely for him on Saturday, and hopeful that he'll run pretty big race at his price.
Yeah, no reason why he wouldn't. Raising Sand is a bit of an Ascot specialist. You can see running well. His mark's gone up to 107 though now, which might be just a bit above his ceiling. What do you like in the race, Declan?
Yeah, look, I suppose it's quite hard to get to grips with this. The draw is going to be important in that. But the two I would give a mention to are Bell Rocca and Prince Oichi. Bell Rocca I've been kind of following all year after he made a brilliant start to his campaign at Newmarket. Things haven't just gone right for him. I'd be interested to see if they put some headgear on this horse, Sean, because to my eye, he just looks like he keeps getting lost at critical junctures in the race and then running on late. I think if they do put headgear on him, he could be interesting just to help Bushy and kind of keep him travelling into the race a little bit better. He's got conditioning over 10 furlongs this year, which could help in terms of stamina late in the day. Andrew Bowling's had a great season. He's going to be ridden by the champion jockey, so Just look out for some headgear on him. It could be interesting. And Prince IG, I just think he's got a little touch of class, Sean. He ran well in the Wolferton, where he maybe did a little bit too much to the front end. And, you know, he's gone well on soft ground before. I just think that the drop to a mile, if he got a little bit of cover off a strong gallop, he could go well at a nice price as well.
Okay. So let's confirm selections for the Balmoral handicap. King Ottica for Simon, I quite like him as well. Belrock for Declan, one of a couple that he's mentioned for you there. I thought last year's winner Escobar could easily follow up. He is also still in the Group 1 earlier on the card, so whether he'll go for this I don't know, but if he does, I'd be very keen to be with Escobar. If he doesn't run, then I think Raik looks to have been beautifully placed. I know he's favourite, but he looks to have been brilliantly campaigned and placed to come in here with the penalty and get into the race, Raik, and he could be absolutely deadly in there off the rating plus his penalty there. So that wraps up our preview for British Champions Day. Let's just round up, chaps. If you had to pin your hopes to one horse, a banker for the week, what would it be, Simon?
I think I'll go with Magical in the Champion Stakes. I know she's a shortish price, but I think she's got a class break on her rivals here.
OK, so Magical for Simon. If I had to pin you down to one, Declan, or maybe one of your tricky little trixies, whatever you like.
I know, Trixie. No. I think that Mallio at the price will give you a good run for your money. And I think in terms of a value bet, I do think Happy Power in the sprint is considerably overpriced given ground conditions.
Dave Mallio there for Declan. Magical for Simon Rowlands. That was a preview long gone. And for me, Search for a Song actually in the first against Stradivarius. I think we can take Stradivarius on a Search for a Song. I think it's a peachy price in our first. Thanks for watching our British Champions Day preview brought to you by Betsafe. Don't forget to subscribe if you're following us on YouTube. Don't forget you can do all your form study on attheraces.com. And don't forget to watch it all with us on Sky Sports Racing.